All right, today we're going to do 9.3 similar triangles proofs. And you've already written down these three theorems, so you don't need to rewrite them if you can go find them in your notes. I just repasted them here because it's really important to remember all of the theorems we've learned about similarity between two triangles given certain information. Okay, so angle similarity, so if you've got two angles that are congruent in one triangle to two angles in another triangle, then the triangles are similar. Okay, remember similar is just same shape, not the same size. And then if you have three sides, so this is the side similarity theorem. If you've got three side lengths of one triangle proportional to the three side lengths of another triangle, remember they over each other, they make the same fraction, then they'll be similar. And then if you have two sides of one triangle proportional to two sides of another triangle, and then their included angles are congruent, then the triangles are similar. Okay, so that's side angle side similarity. So we're only going to end up using one of these theorems today, but it's helpful to go back and look at all of these and make sure you have access to them. Okay, so example number 1. Go ahead and write this down. There's a shape on the right, and then what's given is that angle S is congruent to angle W. Okay, and I'm going to mark this up as we go. So that's the only thing that's given, but it's really helpful. S and W are congruent. And then we need to prove that the two triangles are, this is similar to each other, not congruent, just similar. Okay, so SUV is similar to TUW. All right, we need to prove that. So one thing we're going to do is we're always going to start with our given. Hopefully that will help us here. And it does, because now we have one set of angles congruent, and actually since no side lengths are given, we can't figure out if sides are proportional to each other. There's no numbers given here. So actually our best bet is the angle-angle theorem from above. So we just need one other set of angles that's congruent to each other. Maybe pause the video and try to decide on your own which set of angles it is. Okay, so it's going to be this set of angles right here, these two across from each other. So that's old information. Try to remember that on your own, okay? So that's going to be angle SUV congruent. Oh, remember these are congruent. These have to be congruent angles. Congruent to TUW. Order matters. I'm looking at this order up here. Okay, and that's by the theorem that vertical angles are congruent. You can write shorthand, but you need to write the sentence out. Okay, so now that we have two sets of angles that are congruent, we can say that the triangles SUV, triangle SUV is similar to TUW by angle similarity. So you can say the two triangles are similar to each other. If you put congruent over here, it's wrong. So make sure you put similar. All right, and then our last example for today. Given that AB is parallel to DC, prove that triangle ABE is similar to DCE. Okay, so I'm going to mark up my triangle. AB is parallel to DC. All right, that's important to us. And let's go ahead and think about what it's asking for. It's asking for ABE, so this big triangle, I'm going to erase my work afterwards, but that big triangle congruent to similar to DCE. It wants to make sure that big triangle is the same shape as this little triangle, so we have to prove that, okay? So we're writing a paragraph proof. We're going to start with our given. AB is parallel to DC because it is given. Okay, now we need to show that, let's look at these two parallel lines. If we have two parallel lines, this one up top and this one right here, and they're cut by this transversal, we can prove that this angle is in the same place as this angle down here. Those are corresponding. This is old information. So when it's two parallel lines cut by a transversal, you can remember all those old rules, okay? So this next one is that angle A is congruent to angle, and you can't call this angle D because there's two angles. It could be this angle up here, which we're not talking about. So you actually need to say is congruent to angle CDE, because these are because two parallel lines cut by transversal corresponding angles are congruent. Okay, great. And then we can do that again if we, sorry, I'm doing the coloring over my picture over and over, but let's do green. If I have parallel lines cut by this transversal over here, don't worry about the other transversal, then this angle is corresponding with this angle down here. Okay, so I'm going to actually do the same thing again. I can say that angle B is congruent to angle DCE, because you have to say that whole angle because we're talking about the bottom angle for C and not this top angle up here. So we have to specify which angle we're talking about. And then we have to write the same thing, because if two parallel lines are cut by transversal, same thing, they're corresponding, which means they're in the same place relative to each other. Corresponding angles are congruent. Okay, now we have congruent angles twice, so we can actually jump to that final answer, that triangle ABE, the big triangle, is similar to triangle DCE, the smaller triangle, because of angle-angle similarity. All right, and in your homework you might be asked to use the other theorems that we didn't use today.